Hello and welcome back to Everything Tumbler Tutorials. My name is Rebecca Scott and today I'm going to show you a super fun Chevron pattern vinyl. This is number 1396 at AB Designs, but not to worry, the link will be down for you in the description below. I'm going to bring you in a lot closer and I'm going to show you how I've already cut this down to size to where I can just trim off maybe an inch around the top using the X-Acto knife. First things first, when placing vinyl around a tumbler, it is much easier, especially for beginners if you are using a straight tumbler. For tutorial purposes, I'm only going to peel back maybe an inch to 2.5 inches or so to make this a little bit easier to work with. I don't usually worry much about air pockets as I do the wrinkles. So you will see me kind of going back and forth, playing with this a little bit just to make sure that I'm not getting wrinkles. Air pockets, I can fix. Wrinkles, not so much. So you're going to notice that I place probably about an inch at a time, slowly working my way around the tumbler, removing the backing off the vinyl and slowly easing the vinyl onto the tumbler. We're going to do this step over and over until we meet up at the back side. You're also going to notice that unfortunately my chevron lines did not match up, but don't worry, we'll get to that later. I also want to mention that I keep this video recording at real time so that you can actually see the process and how sometimes we can go into wrapping vinyl around a tumbler.
Told you what to chase, told you how to run the race. Every move was on the page, but I didn't like their way. Had to fight and misbehave, had to find a way to change, had to leave to find my way. Caught up in a daydream, I beat my mind up there almost daily. It's how I pass time, no opinions safely. It's how I understand what I want in this place, see, cause everybody wanna tell you bad things. What could go wrong?
Once I get this completely wrapped, I then go back through with my weeding pen and I'll pop any air pockets that I find. You are not going to want to slice them, you just want to pop them with your weeding pen. Once we have the tumbler wrapped, we're ready to trim the rim. You definitely want to make sure that you have a sharp X-Acto knife when doing this, otherwise it can seem like a huge chore. Once we've gone ahead and trimmed the rim, now we're going to go ahead and fix the seam. No matter how I would have cut this or not, the seams were not going to match up.
Told you what to chase, told you how to run the race. Every move was on the page, but I didn't like their way.
Now that we have everything cut and tidied up, it's time to tape off the bottom. I only want to spray paint the bottom, so I need to protect all of this vinyl before I spray paint. Now you can use parchment paper like I do and just tape it up nice and solid, and or you can use saran wrap. And because I'm only going to spray paint this a really pretty pink, which is called it's called Prickly Pear. I've used this color so many times because I absolutely love it. Either way, I have to trim this rim because otherwise you will see that vinyl here at the bottom end. You will see that through the spray paint. So once I have everything nice and protected, I'm going to go ahead and use my X-Acto knife to trim off that excess vinyl that's below the tape at the bottom. If you use parchment paper, I highly recommend you wrap it very nice and tight and tape it off as well as you can so that you don't have any overspray that bleeds under. Now that we're sprayed, I'm going to go ahead and remove the parchment paper and the tape immediately. I'm going to allow this to completely dry before moving on to the next step. I really hope you're enjoying this video so far, and if so, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more tutorials coming soon. Also, don't forget to click that bell to get notifications for every time I launch a brand new video. So once we have our tape removed and our paint is dry, we can honestly move right in to adding our nail tape, which is what I've done. Because our vinyl is essentially flat, I don't have any air pockets, I don't have any wrinkles, so this was a very smooth process. What I will highly recommend is you're going to want to put on a true crime podcast and or a current trial and just listen, because this wasn't difficult, but it was very time consuming. So those of you who have done the Chevron and the other style, I can't remember what that is, but there's one that's just as complicated and time consuming. So make sure your mind is busy and you're listening to something or jamming out to music, because this took quite some time. So once you have all of your nail tape and or vinyl, I highly recommend you use the Quick Coat Urethane Sealer. Now, I know you guys have heard me mention this so many times. If ever there was a time to use the Quick Coat Urethane Sealer, this would be it. Now is the time. So I just used a glove finger, and I'm pretty sure that these bottles, maybe not this size, but I'm pretty sure the bottles of the Quick Coat does come with a tip. Unfortunately, during my moving process, I have misplaced it. So I'm just ever so carefully, very light-handed, I'm just pouring on the Quick Coat, and I'm just carefully, ever so gently rubbing it onto the tumbler. I felt one coat was enough, but at the same time, I almost could have done a second coat. But the one coat was solid, worked like a charm, and I was able to move right into my coat of epoxy. About 30 minutes or so, I gave this a chance to dry before moving on. Once I was pretty confident that my Quick Coat had completely dried, I was ready to move on with my first coat of Fast Set from Counterculture DIY, which I didn't mention before, but the Quick Coat also is from Counterculture DIY. If you don't have it yet, it's a must-have. Once again, I'm just being ever so careful while applying my epoxy, and as always, you want to use your heat torch to pop any bubbles that you may or may not be able to see. So once I was certain my Fast Set was fully cured, I decided to go ahead on the back side here at the seam and add a stripe. I wasn't really mad at it, so I really could have done without the stripe altogether, but I know a lot of people don't like the seams when they don't match up. I'm kind of on the fence. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I would really love to hear from you. Do you think this draws more attention to the back seam, or should I have just not added the line? I'm not really sure. Either way, I'm not mad at this tumbler at all, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep it for myself. So I ever so carefully trim the bottom and the top, as always, when doing nail tape and or vinyl. I also, maybe or maybe not, have nicked my spray paint at the bottom while placing my nail tape, so I decided it was time to go ahead and re-tape off the bottom and re-spray paint. Once that was completely dry, I was able to go right into another coat of epoxy, and again, I decided to use Fast Set for the second coat of epoxy for this tumbler. This tumbler did only take one more final coat when I used Artist Resin from Counterculture DIY, and this tumbler was complete. I want to thank you so much for watching, and be sure to find me on TikTok under Rebecca Escott, Facebook at Everything Tumbler Tutorials for continued learning. Remember, all links will be down in the description for you below. And as always, Make sure you use your heat torch to pop any bubbles you may or may not be able to see.
I grew up in a place where they told you what to chase, told you how to run the race. Every move was on the page, but I didn't like their way. Had to fight and misbehave, had to find a way to change, had to leave to find my way. Caught up in a daydream, I beat my mind up there almost daily. It's how I pass time, no opinions safely. It's how I understand what I want in this place, see. Cause everybody wanna tell you bad things, what could go wrong, what fame brings. But success is a finicky thing, and if you ain't sure, no, it'll never be. I don't wanna let myself down, myself down. I don't wanna let myself down, myself down. Run away, I don't have to plan it. I can go change my fate, you won't understand it.